Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good morning, those who are in the United States, good afternoon, our colleagues in the UK, and all the Busogas in Busoga and Ugandans, good evening. My name is Maganda Evans Tabingwa, the host on the Tanya Innovations Africa show. And tonight I am happy that we are hosting Ambassador Agnes Kadama Kalibala, whom briefly we shall be able to profile. However, before we go into the details of today's show, allow me to pass special condolence to the family of Haji Buinza, who passed away today. We want to acknowledge all the work that he has done for Busoga Kingdom and the young generation. He has been very passionate about Busoga issues, and we ask God to rest his soul in eternal peace. And we bereave with the entire family and Busoga at large. Now, tonight, we are tracking, or we are literally looking into the efforts that have been put in by individuals who have passion in education. They have taken time to be able to go into the dirty places of rural education. And our guest tonight is none other than Ambassador Agnes Kadama Kalibala. We shall give her time to introduce herself and tell us about herself, and then we shall be able to continue with the program. Ambassador Agnes, could you kindly greet the viewers and listeners and also briefly introduce yourself? Thank you very much.
Good evening, viewers. I hope you are all fine. Wherever you are, it is at night. Other places, it is the morning or afternoon. As I've already been introduced, I'm Agnes Kadama Kalibala, and I'm the chairperson of Busoga Education. And I've been working chairperson since 2017 when we started this initiative. We are based in Kampala, but we work in Busoga because our cause is in Busoga. I believe that is enough for me for the time being.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Agnes. I would like also to take this time to thank you for sparing time besides the busy schedule that we have had today. I have quite a number of listeners who have decided to log in from Europe in particular, but also thank you for sparing time to make sure that we have this day. Could you briefly tell us about Busoga Education Initiative? When did it start? What drove you to get into the initiative of Busoga Education Initiative? Who do you have other persons that you are closely working with in terms of this initiative? You can just give us the brief background and the motivation behind Busoga Education Initiative.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I would like to give you a small background of how Busoga Education Initiative came into being. As I said, we started in 2017 by meeting and doing a little bit of research. And this came about during the time when Honorable Rose Seninde was the then Minister of State for Education. She mobilized us because she looked at the results of the whole of Uganda and realized that in primary level examination, which we call PLE in Uganda, Busoga region was consistently being the last performer in education, in examination of primary level examination for the last 5 years. You can imagine that was 2017. So for the last 5 years, that meant from 2012, Busoga region was the last performing region. So then she came to us and she said, I know there are so many Busogas who are highly educated. Why is it that your area is the last performing region in the whole country? And if you looked at the results, you could see consistently us going down every year. There were times when even the last school, the poorest school in the whole country, came from Busoga, and it was from Jinja district, and this was very ashamed. So she came to us and she said, you people, you are well educated, why can't you do something about your region? Much as the government is supposed to be helping you, but you should be ambassadors of your own places. Go back to your schools, find out reasons why you are performing badly. So she approached me, then we mobilized other Busogas and the friends and well-wishers. So Busoga Education Initiative is composed of sons and daughters of Busoga. Then we have friends, especially those who studied in Busoga, like Busoga College Mwiri, Wanyange, but they are not Busoga, but they were in those schools and they are now our well-wishers and they are also friends. So that is how we started. Then in 2018, we decided to go a little bit further and launched it. And by then, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga was the speaker. So she
I
came
also
and launched
attended.
it. Oh, yes.
Right.
So we launched it and then invited many people and we started talking about the issues of education in Busoga because the quality of education was appalling and it was really making us feel very bad. So that is how we started.
Okay.
Then later on, because we needed to be officially recognized, we registered Busoga Education Initiative as a limited company by guarantee, composed of volunteers who are sons and daughters, friends and well-wishers of Busoga, who are concerned about the deteriorating state of education in Busoga. Then we went further and signed an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Ministry of Education, because we found it was going to be very difficult for us to start advocating and lobbying and pushing for the quality of education in Busoga without working together with government. So that is how we also decided to sign a memorandum of understanding, which puts together some parts of relationship of how we can work together in order to uplift the education quality in Busoga.
Okay, elaborate enough. At least the listeners and the viewers will be interested to know, what were these? I'm sure that you must have carried out intensive research after the questions that you had in mind. What were some of these critical problems that you found in your terrain as you moved along Busoga? Then, if there were these critical problems, can we say today that they are not there? Or to what extent have you been able to help remove some of these challenges? But let us first appreciate the key challenges that were there by then, that were making these children to consistently perform poorly.
Thank you very much. That is a very important question, because we were also wondering why Busoga was now performing poorly. Yet, when I was growing up during those days, Busoga was one of the best regions. We used to have the best students. And then we said, really, what happened? So let's go back and find out. So we carried out a research and we found that there are two types of reasons that are behind the poor performance. The first one is on policy level. You know, when government put together the government policy of UPE, that is Universal Primary Education,
Right.
many parents misunderstood the policy. They all thought it was going to be free education, that the children would go completely to government and government would be fully responsible for everything, including books, including food, including everything. So parents really developed a negative mindset and just said, now our problems are over, government has taken over. So that was one of the biggest problems. Many of the parents changed their attitude and misinterpreted this government policy of UPE and thought now government was taking over completely, including disciplining the children. Then we also found out that there are other causes which is not at policy level, but which are technical. And one of them was poor coordination mechanism. There is very weak supervision and monitoring in Busoga by the district education officers and the district inspectors of school. And therefore, you find that children go to school and can stay there for many years without these people coming to check on how they are really performing. When we were growing us, we used to see DEOs coming, and then the teachers would quickly come together and they panic and they ensure that the schools are clean, we are seated properly, we have the right curriculum, we are following the right syllabus. These days, in many schools in Busoga, especially the rural one, that one is hardly there. So that one was lack of supervision by the Ministry of Education. Then the other one was poor learning environment in terms of infrastructure. They don't have classrooms. I'm sure you have seen many of the pictures which go on social media. Children sit under trees, and when it rains, there is no school because definitely you cannot learn when you are under a tree and it is raining. There is no housing for teachers. So teachers walk very far away from the schools and they come late. The children come late and the teachers come late. So you go to a school and you reach there around 10 o'clock and there's nobody. Then you pass around and you say, but where are the teachers? They say they are still on the way coming because they live very far. So that one is another big problem. Then there's the poor sanitation and water. Many schools in the rural areas don't have proper sanitation, don't have proper water sources. So the children are tasked to go and pick water before they start school. That consumes a lot of their time. And even the water that they bring is normally not very good water. So then you see children getting sick all the time. So there's a lot of absenteeism because of sickness and also because they take a lot of time going to collect water. And girls get affected badly because when they go to collect this water, eventually sometimes they get involved in funny things and they get pregnant. So there is a lot of high pregnancy because on the way, they are endangered by some of these young boys who are moving around in the villages and they make them pregnant. Then there is also lack of scholastic material. They don't have many books, no textbooks. You find a girl going to do PL in P7 with a pen which is a quarter full. And then when she's writing the exam, the pen gets finished. He says, I'm stopping here because the pen is finished. Parents don't take responsibility to buy these pens and the scholastic materials. So you find that children fall out of school or they fail the exams because of just basic things like scholastic material. Then you also find that there is poor quality teachers and lack of continuing professional development. The teachers, some of them are completely not supposed to be teachers. I don't know what happened, but you find a girl who failed her O-level or who even failed P7 now being put together as a teacher, and they tell you that that is a teacher. When you interact with her and you say, so where did you stop? Which teaching school did you go to? Nowhere. She just says, I was just picked and I became a teacher. So that one also is a very big problem. And not only because of quality, but also quantity. You can find a school, and this is a true story. We went to a place called it's a new district somewhere there where they have islands. And the teacher told us that he is the headmaster, he is the askari, he is the cook, he is the basa. And at the same time, is supposed to teach 7 classes. Then we said, but how do you manage? Then he says, oh, I sometimes bring in a few friends of mine to help me. But certainly there is nowhere a teacher like that one, a school like that one, where you have one person who is all around, headmaster, askari, cook, and everything else, and teacher to run a school. And how do you expect children to pass? Yet, according to I think the rules and guidelines, you should be having at least 14 teachers, between 14 to 18, teaching different subjects. But you find a teacher is teaching English, he's teaching science, he's teaching I don't know what, political, everything, one teacher. And then because they are so congested in classrooms, they don't have enough classrooms, you find one classroom composed of 3 classrooms, P1, P3, P2, all in one room, especially when it's raining. So they say, P1, you look on this side. P2, look on the other side. P3, look on the other. And on each side, there is a teacher. And each one is teaching, and they are all shouting. Nobody concentrates because the one teaching English, teaching it in P1. There is another teaching mathematics, teaching it to P2. There is another teaching science, teaching it to P3. And they are all speaking at the same time. And this one I saw with my own eyes. I could not believe. I asked, how do these children now concentrate? They just said, we just go like that. Because we don't have enough teachers, we don't have enough classrooms, but that is the condition we're in. So some of those things, they really make these students to even lose interest in school, and they drop out. And then there's a negative mindset of teachers, parents, students about education. In Busoga, some parents, because they have been frustrated and stressed, they somehow remove their children quickly out of school. If you go and do a census in P1, you would find maybe about 30 or 40 students. When you go to P2, they will still be there. But come to P5, they will have all dropped out. Most of them, not all, but most of them would have dropped out. Either they have gone to get married, or they got pregnant on the way. The boys are taken for child labor because we have a lot of sugarcane around there. They go to cut sugarcane and load it, and for them getting 1,000 shilling a day is a lot of money. They don't see why they should waste their time waiting for all these years until they reach senior 6. So they drop off. And this bad mindset comes especially from parents, because the parents are the ones who drive their children and tell them, why are you wasting time here? When are we going to get money? Go quickly and get money. Go and cut sugarcane. You girl, go and get married quickly. So there, in the end, you find that students are falling out of school when they are still young. They are getting married when they are still young. They are getting pregnant when they are still young. Boys are going to do manual labor and so on when they are still young. And so the education system there becomes very difficult for anybody to pass well. But I'm talking about rural schools. The urban schools, the thing is different. In urban schools, the conditions are not as bad. But in rural schools, especially schools which are deep, like for example, where I come from in Gadumidi, it is there in Kadiru. You find students doing their own things because the parents are not caring, the teachers are not there. Sometimes, let me tell you, we used to go and inspect these schools. Then you go to the school, maybe you find a cook there or you find an askari, and then you say, but where are the teachers? They say, you passed them on the way. We say, where? That those ones who are doing border are the ones who are teachers. They will first do border in the morning, then maybe when there are no more passengers, they will come around 10 or 11. You can imagine such a situation where people first go and do border, and then they decide later on at 11 to come and teach students. Then there's another system, the Ministry of Education, where they have allowed DEOs to recruit teachers, and the money goes directly to their accounts as salary. Before, they used to pay them individually by looking at you, and they know that you are there. These days, the money goes directly to the account. So what these teachers do, because they don't have time and the money, I think when they look at it, is not as good as the other sectors. So they get what they call abachuba. These are temporary teachers who go and do teaching on their behalf. So you'd find the teacher is busy doing border, or he's in a market, or he's in a shop, or he's in his garden, but he has brought somebody from his home or from the village whom he says, you go and teach. I'll give you part of my salary. So if that guy is getting maybe 400,000 at the end of the month, he gives about 50,000 to the one who has been teaching, and then he pockets the 350. And you can imagine that somebody who has been given 50,000, what kind of quality of education would he give? So all those problems, we went, we did a needs assessment, we found them, we wrote a report, we shared it with our members, then we sent it to the Ministry of Education and told them this is how rural Busoga is in as far as education. No wonder our children are performing badly.
Wow. Those are serious issues. Very, very serious issues. And I think it's the reason why we want to dive into some of these things, because sometimes the policymakers, the people, the agents of change, you might find them in town talking about so many things, but they are not in touch with this reality. I think the reality that you're bringing out tells us that we still need to have special attention to these rural schools. Now, would you say that the issues you have mentioned, okay, what I want to know is that from your initiative, what solution were you able to provide? Or what was in this report that was helpful? Have there been changes, or can we be worried that these things are still happening and there's nothing being done about it? Or maybe you are overwhelmed because you found the problems, but then it's not getting the attention that you desired to have.
Actually, ever since we came into being, that was 2017, 2018, we started advocating, we started lobbying government, we started lobbying political leaders, cultural leaders, religious leaders, communities, and everybody around us, and started talking about education, the importance of education. It was like a political debate. We would go and tell everybody the importance of education, right from the basics. We go to the parents, we talk to them. We go to the religious leaders, we talk to them. We go to the politicians, we talk to them. People were telling us, but everybody knows the importance of education. But we said, but if they know it, why are they not taking their children to school? Let us remind them. So we started radio talks. We started television talks. We started talking to the communities. We would go into communities and gather them, and we started talking to them and inspiring them. And like I told you, many of us are well educated, so we would go and give ourselves as role models, and we tell them that we also grew up in villages, but now we are what we are because we went to school. So please look at us and emulate from what we did. And then we started also looking at the quality of education of the teachers. We said, we have seen that most of the teachers who are in these rural schools are not well qualified, and some of them don't even know the syllabus. Some of them, the curriculum, some of them haven't even received it. So we said, now let's do what we call retooling. So we gathered teachers in some of these poorly performing schools, and we said, let's retool them, give them capacity building, to have the basics of what a teacher should be and what they should be teaching, and at what level should they start this and that. What is in the curriculum? What is in the syllabus? What is it that they are supposed to disseminate at given levels so that the students really understand them? So we gathered the teachers, and this was done together with the Ministry of Education, because for us, as I told you, we are just volunteers. We are not teachers. My career for me as a diplomat, definitely I'm not a teacher. And many other people who are members of this Busoga Education Initiative are people who did different subjects. Of course, they are also teachers. We have professors, we have all kinds of people who are working in MOOCs, who are working in different universities. But we thought it was important for us to work together with the Ministry of Education so that the Ministry of Education can come and impart the right skills into these teachers. Tell them what they are supposed to be doing, at what level, how do they discipline the children, how do they mentor them, how do they mentor the parents, how do they build teamwork, amongst the parents and the teachers? How do they also bring into being some of the skills that children should be learning, not only about books, but other technical skills which they can use later on when they grow up? Because that is very important, especially for these who fall out of school. So we started this with the Minister of Education, and I want to thank the Minister of Education very, very much from the bottom of my heart, because when we approached them, they were very excited. They came, they started working with us, and I would like also to take this opportunity to thank Juma Chisame. Mr. Juma Chisame did something tremendous to Busoga Education Initiative. He used to give us accommodation free in his school. He would accommodate 300 teachers, give them free meals, give them free education, free accommodation. And what Minister of Education would do was just to facilitate their transport to come to the venue. So we would do, the school is in Wairaka. So we would go to Juma Chisame's school, we take there these teachers, we bring Minister of Education, and we impart skills in them. Let me also take this opportunity to thank two organizations that worked with us. That is Plan International and World Vision. They would provide the money for transporting the teachers and also for facilitation of some of the consultants whom we brought in to help us in the retooling. So without those, we would have had a big problem. But also the members of Busoga Education Initiative, like I've told you, they are all volunteers. They volunteered, they put in their money, they would pay what we call subscription, they would pay membership, so that we can be able to reach out to these people. We go to their villages, we go and make community meetings, and all those were volunteers. So members of Busoga Education Initiative, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because without you coming together and without you showing confidence in yourself that you can really make change, we wouldn't be where we are. So that is how we started. But then when COVID came in, this business of retooling stopped. So then, of course, COVID affected everybody, and it affected education in Uganda badly, because for 2 years we were not studying, and we have just gone back.
Okay. Well, there's a question that I would like you to go to, but before that, I would like to appreciate, I think you have talked about Mr. Kisame. Those are individuals. It means that they were doing things in their individual capacity. I want to thank the members of the Busoga Education Initiative under your leadership. Thank you so much for that job well done. I was expecting to hear, especially being that these schools, some of them are government schools, I suppose, most of them. And I know that we have district education officers, we have local leadership, we have local governments. Are there some specific local governments, or would you say that out of all these initiatives, you are not at all getting support from the local leadership in Busoga? And that I mean as from local governments. Do you have some that you would say they were supporting this initiative and they are aware that you are having this challenge, and they were able to put in some efforts?
Yes, of course. There is no way in any initiative, let me tell you, there is no initiative ever in Uganda where you can work without local leaders. Because it is the local leaders who even show you where the schools are. It is the local leaders who can mobilize the people you are going to talk to. So all these initiatives and all these campaigns and all these meetings we've been having with the parents and students were being organized very closely with the local leaders. Because we would go through the LOC5, I think that is the chairman of at local level 5, and down up to local level 1. And they would help us to mobilize the students, mobilize the parents, and also whenever we were inviting the teachers to come for these retooling workshops and seminars, we would have to pass through them. The DEOs, that is the district education officers, they are the ones who would show us which school is needed. and which school needs this and that, and which school performed the worst. So the DEOs have been very instrumental in our initiative. The local leaders have been definitely very instrumental because we cannot work without them. But I would like to point out some of the districts where we really got a lot of support. One of them is Mayuge. Mayuge had one of the worst performing students, but they came on board very, very willingly. We had another one called the Buyende. It is somewhere very far near Kamuli.
Yes.
And also their school was their district was performing very badly. Then there is another district. That district, I seem to have forgotten its name, but it is near waters. They have islands. If you can remember it, maybe you can tell me. It is called, but it is also
side of Kamuli, right?
No. As you are going to Busia.
Bugiri.
No, not Bugiri. I will remember it and tell
Namayingo.
That one also, Namayingo.
Yes.
So that Namayingo is the district where I told you that there was a headmaster. Who was the headmaster? Is the same person who is the teacher, is the cook, is the askari, who was everything. But they really came on board with a lot of vigor, and they supported the initiative very well. And if you look at their results, you compare 2017 and 2021, you won't believe. They now have grade 1.
Fantastic.
Yet before, there was nothing. Before, you would look at their performance, and over 70% of the students were ungradable. You would get maybe 2 or 3 of them who have passed in grade 2. The majority are in grade 4. And no, others are in grade 3 and 4. And then the majority are in grade X, which is it called grade 0, which is ungradable, because you cannot even mark them. They didn't even perform.
They didn't even do anything, right?
Yeah, others, maybe they just wrote their names and the pens got finished. I don't know, but they were in that category. But now that district has really performed very well. And if you compare them to others, you can say these ones have really excelled. Mayuge also has excelled. Jinja district, there is a school called the, I will remember the name, I'm sorry. But that school was the worst in 2017 in the whole country. It was the worst in the whole country. Yeah, around in Nikachida, somewhere there in Nikachida. Yes. Mawoito, it came from a sub-county called Mawoito. And it was the worst. But now they excelled so highly that they are now even getting scholarships, simply because of our initiative. Because we go there, we talk to the teachers, we retool them, we talk to the students, to the parents. It's a very vigorous campaign, but without combining all these different categories of partners or participants, you cannot make it. So that school also has really come out. And the one time I saw in Jinja district, the headmistress was being awarded an award as being the best headmistress in the whole of Jinja district. You can imagine, and yet in 2017, they were the worst.
Oh, wow.
So
I hope that I don't know whether these very people are the ones still in the leadership. Are you trying to say that some of these who received awards or who are making, who have made these strides are still in those schools today?
Yeah, some of them are. You know, we agreed with these schools because we said, let this be the role models of our initiative. So we agreed with the Ministry of Education that do not change these teachers and headmasters before we can make impact.
Correct.
So that we can be where we started and where we are. And most of these head teachers are still there. Of course, some have been changed, but the majority are there. And if you look at where they were in 2017 and where they are now in 2021, it is fantastic. I'm not trying to say that we now come out of the woods. Definitely no. Busoga is still performing poorly, and I'm appealing to everybody who is listening to me to come in and help us, because we still need support. We are not the best, but at least we are not the worst. We are not the worst. That time, whenever the results came, there was no need for you to look up. You would just go to the worst performing schools because you know that is where Busoga is. But now you go in the middle there. You don't go down. So there is a lot of improvement, but there is still a lot to be done. We still need infrastructure. We still need classroom. We still need teachers. We still need scholastic material. We still need to encourage parents to take back their children. You know, when COVID came, it even made things worse because many girls got pregnant and Busoga was the worst hit. I think Lida was the worst hit, but because me, I'm working with Busoga Education Initiative, I know that Busoga was amongst those which were worst hit, like Kamudi, like Bujiri. Children, you would go in a maternity ward to look at how many mothers have come for antenatal. Majority are children between 12 and 15 and 16 and 17. They are pregnant. And then you say, what happened? COVID. So now we have been discussing with the Minister of Education. How do we help these children? Because there are so many who fell out of school because of COVID, because they were redundant at home, they became pregnant. And now, of course, some of them, although the government now has said they can go back to school, but many of them are shy. And you know, after getting married and getting children, you start thinking, whom am I going to leave my child to go back to school? So many of them are stagnant there in the villages, and we are trying to see how we can sort them out, at least for them to get the skills which they can use and increase on their capacity of earning money, and they can be able to sustain their families with their small children.
Okay. Thank you for those submissions. We are having about 12 minutes to the end of this show. But allow me read some of the comments that are trickling in through. Umar Kangabo and Precious Stella, we are tuned in the program. Thank you. Kato Andrew, we are alive 100%. Thank you. Stanley Makoha, we are live from Nairobi. Thank you, Stanley. Tafi Asante, your passing regards. Thank you so much for tuning in. Etse Arije, Kampala, I'm in Kampala. Etse runs Elami International in Kololo. I think when she's listening to the difference between the rural schools, that is why Etse, I will request that now here there is a drive, we need you in such things. Certainly there is a very big difference between Elami International and the type of schools we are talking about. Mary Maganda, following from Kampala. Geoffrey Viamfizi, he's here clapping. He's from Mayuge, and he's saying that, I think he's saying bravo Mayuge. Thank you for tuning in. Elizabeth Rurua, say hello, listening from Kampala. Stevenson Chizito Kiria, from Miracle of Faith Church in Zambia. Good for caring about Busoga. I'm in Busoga, but I'm in Kampala. I'm happy. It's Arija again. Yes, Mayuge Ewange. Okay, she's from Mayuge. Yes, Elsa, yes, you are from Mayuge, but I have heard that there are teachers who have done a wonderful job, and I would be happy if you sacrifice to maybe give an award, because these people need to be motivated. Where somebody was teaching 11 subjects, and we are told that the story has changed. I think the best we can do is that, you know, we can motivate these people by giving them something. So I would encourage some of you to come up with things that can help such. Okay, I think that is all from the chat. Okay, so Madam Agnes, what would be your appeal to any other people who would love to extend help? Are there some areas that you think are still so burning in these rural initiatives, or the challenges that are affecting these rural schools, that you think that need dire help from other partners who may not necessarily be government?
Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody who has made comments, and I would like to thank all of them who are listening in, because like I said, we are volunteers. We are looking for friends We are looking for well-wishers, both locally and internationally. The main problems I told you were basically things that can be worked on. For example, the infrastructure. There are very bad infrastructures in many of these rural schools. No classrooms. I know that is a government issue. But again, if somebody comes in and says, let me help my school where I used to go, let us all be ambassadors of the schools where we studied. We all went to schools in villages, and these schools are really going down the drain. Why can't we go and say that maybe when I'm passing through Christmas, I go and say, let me renovate one of the classrooms, or maybe let me put an extra classroom. And even if it is not your school, but it is within your village and you are able to do it, please pass there, talk to the headmaster, talk to the management team, talk to the PTA, Parents Teacher Association, and see how you can help. The most important thing is for us to work as a team and see how we can put together our efforts, small at different levels, whether they are small, whether they are big, so that we are able to uplift. Once we show commitment, everybody would follow. But once everybody just says, that is none of my business, then we are going to have a problem. Okay. Then there is this big problem of mindset change. We need to continue talking to the parents, because that is where the main problem comes. To the parent to understand that education is number one in everybody's life. You cannot be a health worker without being educated. You cannot be a teacher without having been educated. You cannot be anything without education. So once parents start removing that wrong mindset that there is no need for education, then we shall be able to work together with them. But sometimes you go and talk to the parents, you invite them to the meeting, they first ask you for allowance. Give me transport. You say, but you've come here to talk about your child. How do you want me to give you transport allowance? Let us all be responsible. Let us all be part and parcel of the problem and lift it. Let's lobby government at all different levels, at LC1 up to LC5 and up to Parliament. We keep pumping into them the importance of education at all levels. Because Minister of Education is there, but it is overwhelmed with so many problems, especially when UPE came. So many schools cropped up and maybe they are overstretched. We need to come in and help our government to do the needful. But we also need to push the government to do what they are supposed to be doing.
That's right.
To trust them.
Right.
Because we are supposed to bring teachers. We cannot, as the Busoga Education Initiative, bring in teachers. It is their task. Let them bring in the right teachers, qualified teachers. Let them ensure that the syllabus is followed by ensuring that the district education officers go there and supervise, and the district inspector's officer go there. But sometimes you go to those schools, you ask them, who is the DEO? Even the word they have never heard of it. Who is the DIS? Even that word they have never heard of. You say, who is the Minister of Education? They don't even know. They only know the LC5 and they would say so and so, because that is the one they see moving in a pickup. We need all of us at various levels, religious, community leaders, cultural leaders. Like now we have the Chabazingaship. They have a very good program on education. We need to work with the Chabazinga institution to ensure that, because for it can reach everywhere, to ensure that they can go and mobilize people and teachers and the local leaders at all levels to ensure that we work together to bring our children out of ignorance. Because with ignorance, there's nothing then you can be doing in this very competitive world, because you need to learn, you need to know things. Otherwise, they will leave you out. And let us also ensure that our children are not taken for early marriages. Because many of the parents say, let me just take her, they give me dowry, that will be enough. And you know the dowry they give? Maybe one cow, maybe one goat, and then that is it. And your child loses out. And she can even become a wife, maybe wife number 7, or maybe wife number 3. And the parents no, I don't know how they feel when they see their children in such marriages, but they still push them there. Some of them are even pushing them to do abnormal things, like saying, why didn't you bring sugar today? You went out. Didn't you find somebody to give you money for sugar? What does that indicate? What are they insinuating? It means they are telling their children, go out, hang out with anybody who can give you. So we need, first of all, to ensure that the parents take their responsibility. Government takes its responsibilities. Teachers take their responsibility. But even the students themselves, they must understand that there's discipline in this world. You don't just go and do whatever you want. That now I'm going today for school, tomorrow I'm not going to go. The other day I'm going to see this. The other time I'm going to cut sugarcane, and they leave things just like that. So it is a concerted effort at all different levels, dealing with different partners, dealing with different people who are interested in the well-being of our society. Because Busoga, as you know, Busoga used to be number 2. Number 2 when I was growing up, economic was. But do you know that now we are I don't know, we are the worst. We are the poorest. Poverty levels in Busoga are the worst in the whole country. How can that be? The only way we can do it is to educate our children and we get out of this problem of poverty. Because once we have an educated society, people will understand what to do. Right now, they're all just looking at small things, hand to mouth, go and cut sugar, can bring 1,000, they share. Tomorrow the girl gets 500 shillings from a boyfriend, they share, and at the end of the day. But I'm not saying that the whole of Busoga is like that. I'm not saying, please don't misquote me. I'm saying in some parts in the rural areas, the children are not going to school because of that. And that is why we used to be the last in the whole country.
Okay. I thank you so much, Ambassador Agnes Kadama, for your time. I think what you have shared is some of them raise goosebumps, but also it also shows that we have a lot to do, especially the young people who are in Kampala, those who are in the US, those who are in Europe, those who are in the village. But I think what you have said, which we need to pay attention to, is it appears that we need to zone ourselves in Busoga. For example, I went to school in Namasagali College, and very many people have been laughing at Namasagali College. But out of mobilizing the OBs, all the people in town, we've started just building one classroom, one by one, and the school has started, getting its former glory. I think maybe we need to say, if there are people from Kamuli, I am sure that there are definitely people who are doing well. We can make a drive on certain things and just say, we want to go to this poor of the poor and be able to maybe mobilize a facility of 5 million. We can organize a run. I think these things, we can do them. But it appears we need this to people like Ambassador Kadama to strive, and that still cannot be enough. But I think we shall get in touch, Ambassador Kadama, to see some of those initiatives. Before we even look outside, we want to mobilize the Busogas who are at least earning something, who can pick something and return it back into the community. But I think that needs us to be well organized, to have very clear terrain or statistics of where we need to put those resources, and I'm sure that we can be able to come in and help. And of course, to any other people who are listening, like some of our partners abroad, we hope that you can understand the challenge of the challenges of rural schools or educating a young African in a rural community. It is such a big hurdle. So if you're there and you want to partner, you can get in touch, and we'll be able to work hand in hand with the communities on ground to be able to support the community. I want to thank all the listeners tonight all over the world who have been able to tune into the program. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your bundles, especially after this COVID. And I want to, in particular, thank you, Ambassador Kalibala, for your time. I knew you just had a very serious meeting this afternoon, but for being able to make this. I hope that this show, we can have fruits that can be born out of what we have just shared today. We shall be able to share this clip with other people and see what can come out of this. I thank you so much. Unless you have any other last words for the listeners.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I want to make an appeal to all
Yes.
the listeners to go out, become ambassadors of Busoga Education Initiative. You have listened to the problems that we have at hand. You have listened to some of the solutions we have come up with, but this is not enough. We are still very poorly performing in our education. While we are not the last region, but we are not the best. And yet we used to be amongst the best. So I'm appealing to you, get friends, get donors, get development agents, get anybody who is interested in education to please come and work together as partners with the Busoga Education Initiative. And I want also to appeal to all the districts in Busoga to start being ambassadors of themselves. I want to thank Kamuli district and Iduuka district in particular. Kamuli, they have come up with something they call Kamuli Education Drive. And also, you know, Luuka, they have also come out with something called Luuka Education, something like that, development organization. But I have also seen the Balamoji from Kaliro, and then the Basiki from Namtumba coming together, and they have formed something they call Imporogoma Heritage. And all of us are looking at what can we do to our regions, to our districts, particularly us who come from there, to ensure that we come out. So I'm
Yes.
appealing to all the Basogas to do the same. Let Mayuge also come up with the Mayuge Education Initiative. Namtumba, you do the same thing. Iganga, do the same thing. Bujiri, do the same thing. So that when we go for Christmas or for any other gathering, or whether it is burial or whether it is wedding, we start talking about developmental issues and see how we can bring our places out. If you go to Western Uganda, you would see a lot of improvement. And when you ask what has happened, why are these people well developed? They say there's a lot of working together. They help each other. There's a lot of responsibility among each other to see that this one is not left behind. So let's also emulate others and do the same. Let us bring friends from outside, from within. Let's lobby government for things that can go to Busoga. And please, if you want to contact me, my numbers are 0777 508015. 0777 Call me. I'll give you more details about Busoga Education Initiative and how you can work with us as partners to support us, because we still need a lot of support. You've heard about our problems. I've enumerated them very well. We need your support. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Agnes Kadama Kalibala, for this night. I think that marks the end of our show tonight, and I want to thank all the viewers and listeners, all those who have passed in information in our chats. We want to thank you so much. I hope you have a good night. Those who are just beginning their day in the United States, very good morning, Catherine Stram. Those who are in the UK, Victoria Bell and the rest, thank you very much. I think Ambassador has been clear. She's given her telephone number. You can be able to get in touch directly with her in case you have any support that you want to pass across. We thank you so much. Have a blessed night and day. God bless.